There are moments when the world grows quiet around you, and all that remains is the question you've been carrying in your heart. You've prayed, you've waited, and yet the silence feels longer than any storm you've endured. The human heart often aches not because God is far, but because we do not yet see what He's already begun to do. In those unseen hours, faith is not about sight, it's about trust that breathes in the dark. Gratitude in waiting is not natural, it is holy. It's the kind of thankfulness that rises not from what you hold, but from who holds you. Sometimes you stand before doors that refuse to open, wondering if God has forgotten your knock. But faith whispers differently. It says, even now, He is near. When you thank Him before the answer comes, you are choosing to believe that the unseen is more powerful than the visible. You are declaring that the delay is not denial, that His silence is not absence, and that your gratitude is not wasted breath. Every thank you spoken in the dark becomes a seed planted in faith's soil, and one day that soil will bloom into something you once only prayed for. There is a quiet strength that comes when you learn to worship without evidence. It is not loud, it does not demand a miracle, it rests in one. To thank God before you see the answer is to say, Lord, I trust that you are already moving, even when I can't trace your hand. In that surrender, peace begins to whisper back. Because gratitude doesn't always change what's around you, but it always changes what's within you. Faith never asks for proof before it sings. It hums softly under breath when no one understands. It keeps its eyes open through tears and calls the waiting sacred. Maybe that's why the Lord delights so deeply in praise that costs something. Anyone can thank Him when the blessings overflow, but the heart that chooses gratitude in uncertainty becomes a living altar, a quiet flame in the night that says, I still believe. And perhaps that's the secret. Praise is not payment for what He's done, it's preparation for what He's about to do. When you whisper thank you into the stillness, heaven leans close. God doesn't measure your faith by the size of your miracle, but by the song that survives before the miracle appears. Even if the answer feels distant, even if the prayer seems unanswered, your worship is not lost. It's collected in the hands of a faithful Father who never forgets a single word. So if your heart is weary tonight, don't rush the silence. Let it teach you. Let it become the place where faith matures and trust deepens. Thank Him not because you've seen the outcome, but because you've known His character. His goodness is not postponed, it's present even here. And when you finally see what He's been weaving in the waiting, you'll understand why gratitude was never premature. It was prophetic. Because every thank you before the answer is a bridge between hope and fulfillment, between human weakness and divine strength. It's a song angels recognize, the sound of faith still standing. You may not see the answer yet, but if your heart can whisper praise before dawn, you're already walking in light. Lord, teach my heart to thank you before I see what you're doing. Let my trust rise above what I understand, and my worship bloom before the miracle comes. Amen. If this prayer spoke peace to your soul, whisper Amen in the comments. Share it to bless another heart, and subscribe to 10 Men with God, where gratitude grows and faith finds its rest. Faith doesn't grow in the light of what's already clear. It blooms in the soil of what you cannot yet explain. When life feels like an unanswered prayer, gratitude becomes the language that keeps your soul from drowning in confusion. To thank God before you see the answer is not to pretend that pain doesn't exist. It's to refuse to let pain define what's true. Somewhere in the mystery, you begin to realize that the waiting itself is not wasted time. It's sacred ground where heaven is teaching your heart how to see differently. When you thank Him before the outcome, your eyes start to open to a different kind of miracle. It may not be the one you asked for, but it's often the one you most need. Perhaps it's the peace that comes when you stop striving to fix what only grace can mend, or the quiet strength that holds you together when you thought you were about to break. The answers of God are not always events. They are transformations. Gratitude becomes the hinge that turns despair into trust. Every thank you spoken in uncertainty shifts something in the unseen, and suddenly what once felt like delay becomes preparation. Think about it. When the heart says thank you before it understands, something eternal happens. Fear loses its voice. Worry loses its weight. The spirit becomes light again. Maybe that's why Jesus could sleep through a storm. He knew the sea still belonged to his Father. The storm was never stronger than his peace. You are invited into that same rest. Not the kind that waits for calm to arrive, but the kind that praises through the wind, knowing that God is already steering the waves. In the stillness, gratitude becomes a shield. It guards the mind from the lies that whisper, "You are forgotten." It becomes a lamp in the darkness, reminding your heart that the God who began your story will not leave it unfinished. Even when the answer hasn't appeared, the author is still writing, and his ink never runs dry. That's the power of thankfulness. It repositions you from "why me" to "use me," from "when will it happen" to "Lord, I know you're already near." And when your heart learns to rest in that truth, peace begins to rise quietly within you. It's not loud or sudden. It's the peace that hums beneath the noise of what hasn't changed yet. Gratitude becomes your posture, not your performance. You start to walk through your days differently. You notice blessings that were always there, small mercies, gentle provisions, moments where grace breathed unnoticed. The more you thank him, the more you see him, and the more you see him, the less you fear what tomorrow brings. Maybe this is what real faith looks like. Not a shout in the victory, but a whisper in the waiting. Not a certainty of outcome, but a certainty of presence. When you can say thank you in the middle of an unanswered prayer, you are already standing on holy ground. You're aligning your heartbeat with heaven's rhythm, declaring that God's goodness is not delayed. It's alive and here, even now. So tonight, or whatever hour you find this prayer reaching you, pause for a moment and breathe. Let your gratitude fill the spaces where worry once lived. Let it become your quiet rebellion against fear, your offering in the in-between. You don't have to understand everything to be grateful. You only need to remember that the one who made you is still holding you, still writing, still listening. Thankfulness becomes the bridge between your question and his answer, between the ache of not yet and the beauty of soon. And one day, when the answer unfolds in ways you never expected, you'll look back and realize that your gratitude was never waiting for that moment. It was building it. Father, thank you for working in ways I cannot yet see. Teach my heart to trust the timing of if. This reflection reminded you to stay grateful while waiting on God's timing. Whisper Amen below. Share this moment to bless another soul, and subscribe to 10 Minute with God, where gratitude grows and faith finds its rest. There comes a moment when the heart stops asking and simply opens. It's not surrender born from defeat, but a quiet acceptance that faith was never meant to be a transaction. It was always a relationship. When you've walked long enough through waiting, you begin to see that the answer was never a single event, but 1,000 gentle evidences of God along the way. The way he steadied you when you almost gave up, the way peace found you in the middle of your tears, the way hope kept flickering even when you swore you had no strength left. Gratitude has been building an altar all this time, and now your heart knows how to rest upon it. To thank him before the answer was to trust. To thank him after the waiting is to love. Because love no longer asks for proof. It believes because it has known the voice that whispers in the dark and the hand that never lets go. Maybe this is what maturity and faith looks like. When you realize that even if the mountain doesn't move, the valley has already taught you how to see differently. You no longer chase signs of His presence, you carry them. You no longer ask if He is listening. You begin to hear Him in every silence. The world often teaches us to celebrate only when something happens, but heaven celebrates when your heart can worship before it does. That is the rhythm of divine trust, not a bargain, but a belonging. When you reach this point, your gratitude becomes your identity. It's no longer a discipline you try to practice, it's the breath you take without thinking. And in that stillness, everything ordinary begins to shimmer again. The sunlight on your window, the warmth of another's kindness, the quiet heartbeat of a day that still holds you. It's all holy now. Because gratitude transforms what it touches. It doesn't wait for perfection, it reveals it. If you could see what your prayers have already moved, you would never doubt again. But the mercy of God is gentle. He lets you learn trust the slow way, so that when the answer finally arrives, you love Him more than what He gives. Every unseen moment of faith has been forming something eternal in you. You may have thought you were waiting for a door to open, but heaven was waiting for your heart to open wider. Now, as you stand in this quiet space between what was and what will be, let your gratitude rise, not a song of completion, but a confession of belonging. Tell Him, even if I never see what I asked for, I've already seen enough of you to know I'm safe. That's worship at its purest, a love no longer measured by outcomes, but anchored in presence. The God who promised to never leave you didn't mean only in the miracle. He meant in the middle of your ordinary. And when you finally look back, you'll see that the waiting wasn't an empty hallway. It was a sanctuary. So now, take a slow breath. Feel the weight of peace sitting softly upon your shoulders. The waiting has done its work. The silence has been holy ground. And your thankfulness, whispered through every uncertain night, has been received by the one who writes endings better than you can imagine. You don't need to chase the answer anymore. It's already coming, carried on the same mercy that has been walking beside you all along. If you ever forget this, look around. Look at the sunrise that still returns, the grace that still feeds you, the quiet strength that still whispers, I am with you. Gratitude doesn't need a reason anymore. It is the reason. You are no longer praying for peace. You have become peace. You are no longer asking for light. You are shining with it. That is what happens when the heart finally thanks before it sees. The waiting ends, not because the answer arrives, but because you are changed enough to see that He was the answer all along. Lord, thank you for being the promise that never fades. Teach me to love you not for what you give, but for who you are, and let my gratitude become the place where you dwell. Amen. If this prayer helped you find peace in the waiting, whisper Amen in the comments. Share it to bless another heart, and subscribe to 10 Minute with God, where quiet faith turns every moment into worship.